128 keys, far too many LEDs, and 2 USB-Cs, this is a fully custom mechanical keyboard that I designed from scratch. Jeez Louise. This video was supported by PCBWay. For a long time now, I've wanted to design my own custom keyboard, but never really had that push to make it happen. Not until Chandler started talking about making a mechanical keyboard. Once he started talking about that, it was on. I'm a big fan of the 100% keyboard, ANSI 104. It's a layout I've used for years, and it exists just about everywhere, but it has a few missing features. That'd be the F13 through F24 keys, a rotary encoder, and dedicated media keys. Some designs implement some number of these, but I like things to be set up in a very particular way, so if I'm going through all the effort for that, I may as well go all in and design it myself. But I've never done this before. I've integrated microcontrollers, talked with LEDs, and interpreted key presses, but I've never integrated that all into one massive project. This will be my biggest PCB to date. An important first step to make any project legitimately obtainable or sustainable is to smash it to bits. And by that I mean breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. Doing so here gets me a case, PCB, switches and components, keycaps, and a brain. No, not that one, this one. Over the next few weeks, I worked with a friend to set the layout for the finished keyboard, and to select my components. There were a lot of struggles along the way, and I won't bore you with too many details, but selecting a microcontroller in 2022 is for all intents and purposes impossible, assuming you can even find one. And working with a friend to set a layout can be challenging, but results in a better design at the end. Once I knew what I was working with, I was able to begin the schematic. After smashing my existing keyboard, I extracted the schematics for the new one and began my layout. No! Twice. The first time I got far enough along that the board likely would have turned on, but I'm not from Australia, so I'd like a keyboard that isn't mirrored. Back to square one. Not going to lie, this was a struggle. I spent weeks investing all my free time moving 415 tiny shapes around a digital canvas. Once I'd finally placed down the last wire, I forced Kyle to look at it. He had no clue, so we sent it off to PCBWay. Speaking of PCBWay, PCBWay is a board house that you can send your PCB designs to. You just export your Gerbers and drag and drop them onto their site. Ordering from their website was quick, easy, and relatively painless. They have a ton of options, including flexible PCBs, double-sided PCB assembly, and can do 14-layer boards. They have so many options and some impressive capabilities, which allow you to fab just about anything through them. Their PCBs offer tight tolerances and contain high-quality materials. Fab times were good in our experience, and shipping times will depend on the shipping method you select at checkout. Digital files in, physical PCBs out. A positive experience. While we waited for them to fab the boards, I tased and shot my friends, drove my car around the local parking lots with a PS4 controller, and ordered the components. Once the beautiful boards arrived, and components arrived, special delivery! It was time to get serious. And by that I mean doing the bare minimum to get the microcontroller to turn on. Gotta say, pretty stressful. If it doesn't turn on, we're going broke. These are expensive boards, and this is the first time I've integrated an AVR microcontroller. It's not terribly complex, depending on who you ask, but a lot hinged on this. Of course, it didn't boot. Freaking out, I turned on my oscilloscope and realized that the heart, i.e. oscillator, wasn't working at all. So I looked up its datasheet. Turns out they make multiple types of crystals. Oops. So I placed a new order, knowing that the problem was solved. Luckily, I had a broken Arduino lying around, so I ripped its heart out and continued on. Thankfully, that brought the microcontroller online, so I was able to poke at the next thing. Switches. This is a hot swap board, meaning that you can replace any switch on the board without soldering. Solder in a hot swap socket when you're originally creating the board, and insert your switch. The switches work fine, so we'll move on to the LEDs. The LEDs are a pain. They're tiny, but it's not too bad. Only took about 4 hours to do the whole board, and I want to make a second one. Ouch. I hear you like soldering, Glarses. No. The code for the LEDs is also a pain, but that's because the documentation is pretty confusing. You have to define 3 things for the LEDs: their number, their physical position on the board, and what type of LED it is. All in odd nested arrays that fail to compile the instant you forget a comma. Once you finally solve your compilation issues, you're greeted with a painful blast of red to the eyes. You're looking at 1.5 amps of red LED, and that's only 1/3 the overall power this thing draws. Set them all to white, and it's nearly 25 watts. 25 watts is more than a cell phone when it charges. This thing is ridiculous. It needs 2 USB-Cs to power the thing. That's insane. Your typical laptop will provide an amp, and you need 4 more of those. I can't even find a cell phone charging brick around my house that will power this thing through 1 USB port. It is ridiculous. This thing is a power-hungry monster. I've created a monster. And finally, after a solid 8-hour day of soldering under the microscope, it's complete. An assembled PCB. Don't forget your 3D printed case that I simply won't mention. Put it all together, and in theory, you've got yourself a working keyboard. Time to test it out. While we montage this out, let's go over some of the specs for this board. Mine actually has 127 keys, 1 rotary encoder, the slot for an OLED display, and every single key on this thing is fully remappable up to, I believe, 32 layers through the QMK software. All in all, this was a super fun project, and I'm glad I did it. I've got a sweet new keyboard out of it. As with all things, however, there are some improvements that could be made. The biggest is to check the keycaps before you choose your layout. I'm basically forced to use extra F1 through F12 keys for my F13 through F24 keys. I could have custom keycaps made for that, but they're super expensive. I may attempt to 3D print some in the future, but I'm satisfied for now. Additionally, this board could use a revision. I failed to realize that most hobbyist double-shot keycaps have the numbers at the top of the key. So I rotated the switch 180 degrees, thinking I'd have the numbers better illuminated than my current board, which has the numbers at the bottom. This is a pretty big downside, as the numbers don't light up at all, and in its current state, I'm basically blinded every time I look at the keyboard, since those specific LEDs shine through the gaps between the keys. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time. Check out the turret video linked below, and we'll catch you next time. I said it twice.